Not everything that rolled out of Soviet factories was a success. Today we're going to uncover the 5 trucks most hated by drivers of that era, vehicles that promised to become legends but ended up as nightmares on wheels. Inefficient engines, absurd failures, and designs that drove anyone crazy. Ready to find out which ones were the biggest mistakes in Soviet transport? Let's go. This starts off strong. ZIS-151, the pioneer that couldn't handle rough terrain. The ZS-151 was one of the first Soviet trucks designed to tackle difficult terrain. It featured 3 powered axles and some bold engineering solutions that promised strong off-road capability. However, as often happens with innovative projects, reality was far less kind. The engineers originally planned to equip the ZIS-151 with single tires on the rear wheels to improve traction. But the military, its main customer, insisted on using dual wheels on each rear axle to guarantee autonomy in case of a puncture. At first glance, this seemed logical and practical, but on rough terrain it made everything worse. The biggest problem was that the dual wheels quickly filled with mud, turning into useless dead weight. Drivers had to stop and clean them or even remove them manually, which required enormous effort. On top of that, the truck's massive body, relatively small wheels, and low ground clearance made it even harder to overcome obstacles. To put it in perspective, the simpler KAZ-603 with lower capacity actually performed better off-road thanks to its greater clearance, larger wheels, and single tires. The ZIS-151 was an important step in the evolution of Soviet vehicles, but it also taught valuable lessons about the need for an integrated design truly adapted to real-world conditions. ZIL-132R, the expensive, fuel-thirsty prototype. The ZIL-132R was an experimental truck that never made it into mass production. While its off-road capability was remarkable, it had flaws that quickly sidelined it. The most serious was its brutal fuel consumption. In some reports, it reached up to 78 liters per 100 kilometers. In a context where resources were scarce, this was simply unacceptable. In addition, its size and design made maneuvering difficult, especially in tight spaces. Like many prototypes, the ZIL-132R also suffered from reliability issues with frequent failures across different systems. Its development was costly, and by the time testing was completed, the Army already considered that existing models like the ZIL-131 met their needs without requiring such an expensive and complicated truck. Thus, the ZIL-132R remained nothing more than an experiment that revealed the steep cost of innovating without balance. KAZ-606 Kolkhida, innovative but uncomfortable for the driver. The KAZ-606, also known as Kolkhida, was one of the first Soviet tractor trucks designed at the Kutaisi automotive plant. It represented an important step forward for the local industry thanks to its cab-over-engine configuration, with no hood and the cab placed directly above the motor. However, the experience of driving this truck was anything but pleasant. Its ZIL-7K engine, used in the first models, lacked the power needed to haul heavy loads. And despite being relatively small, it still had high fuel consumption, driving up operating costs. Drivers also complained about the difficult handling caused by the short wheelbase and a design that compromised stability. Especially at higher speeds, the cab was cramped and offered little in terms of comfort, which became especially painful during long trips. Despite its shortcomings, the KAZ-606 was a pioneer in the evolution of Soviet transport, and its story remains an important chapter in the history of domestic vehicle manufacturing. MAZ-503, the tireless worker with its own flaws. The MAZ-503, produced from 1963, was based on the design of the original MAZ truck and came equipped with an 11-liter YAMS 236 diesel engine, producing between 150 and 300 horsepower. This dump truck stood out for its high load capacity and toughness under extreme conditions. However, like any machine, it had its weak points. The YAMS 236 engine consumed a lot of fuel, especially under heavy work conditions. Its speeds weren't the best for long-distance trips, which limited its efficiency. For drivers, the cab was uncomfortable, just like in many other Soviet models. The noise and vibrations were so intense that they could affect health over the long term. Lastly, its size and weight made it difficult to maneuver in tight spaces. Despite these shortcomings, the MAZ-503 is remembered as a true tireless worker that contributed greatly to Soviet industrial development and remains a respected icon. ZIS-150, the post-war truck with many limitations. The ZS-150 was a medium truck produced between 1947 and 1957, one of the most numerous in the Soviet Union. But life wasn't easy for this veteran. Its engine was too weak for the tasks it had to perform. Especially when climbing hills or carrying a full load, the efficiency of its brakes left much to be desired, which could be dangerous when loaded. As in other models, the cab was noisy and vibrated heavily, causing discomfort and even health issues for drivers. In addition, by the time it was launched, many of its technical solutions were already outdated, which affected both performance and comfort. Even so, the ZS-150 was crucial in rebuilding the Soviet economy after World War II and remains an important symbol of that era. A deeper look at human and technological impact. Beyond technical specifications and mechanical issues, these Soviet trucks represent a profound chapter in the relationship between man and machine in a challenging historical context. For drivers, it wasn't just about operating a vehicle. It meant living every day with unbearable noise, constant vibrations, and the uncertainty that a breakdown could leave them stranded in the middle of the road. This physical and mental tension created a strain that went beyond work, impacting their health and overall quality of life. From a technological standpoint, these trucks reflected the ambition of Soviet engineering to build robust machines capable of tackling the country's difficult geography and the demands of heavy labor. However, design mistakes, decisions driven by military logistics, and economic limitations often resulted in imperfect vehicles that didn't always meet expectations. Each model, with its strengths and flaws, taught engineers something new and marked a step in industrial evolution. This story is, in essence, one of a constant search for balance between power, efficiency, and comfort in a world of restrictions. A story where technological progress and human sacrifice were always closely intertwined. These 5 Soviet trucks represent different challenges and mistakes in the development of industrial vehicles. Each had its strengths and weaknesses, but all left valuable lessons for the country's automotive engineering. If you were surprised by these Soviet trucks that, despite all their flaws, still left a mark in history, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next video as we continue to discover legends on wheels.